What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe. Big win. A big win on Sunday. But as a Saints fan, I don't know what I want. I'm someone who's always said winning is more fun than losing, and to enjoy the journey and all this other sort of stuff. I don't want to be tank guy. I don't want to be only caring about the draft guy at this point, but I also do fear getting a little juice and maybe getting to like six wins, right? And putting yourself right out of maybe where you would want to be from a drafting perspective. How do you think fans should or would or how would you like? How do you kind of deal with these two things that are at odds with one another?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of struggle with the same thing because, like, you know, Tuesday morning, I'm sitting here like, damn, like, I wish they were in a position to maintain, you know, a top 3 pick. And you're looking at it, and they've fallen down to, I think, 8th now. I haven't checked since the Miami game to see where they're at, but I think it's 8th. But yeah, on Tuesday morning, I'm looking at that, and on Tuesday morning, I'm like, yeah, obviously it's better for them to have a better draft pick, and I'm thinking that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but damn, if on Sunday when you're watching the game, if you aren't thinking like, you know, it would be really cool to see Rizzy make a run at this and see if he can win the job. How far can this go? Is he the right guy? I want to find all this stuff out, and then you go in the locker room and players are happy and you're telling good stories, and you know all that stuff is
way better
great,
vibes.
but then you get on the other side of it, and it's like, damn, like they aren't going to be able to get Will Campbell, are they? Like Shador's gone. Like looking at on you know that in a year where what are there? There's 10 teams with 2 wins, 9 teams with 2 wins right now. Like the bottom of the league this year, and I know everyone, you know, there was like this big Twitter argument yesterday about like football being better or worse or whatever. But if you look at the bottom of the league, the bottom of the league is much worse than it was a year ago. There are more teams with 2 or 3 losses than there were a year ago. Carolina currently, and I think we would probably all sit here and maybe agree that this is maybe one of the worst teams we've seen in the last decade. Like they currently have the 10th pick in the draft. The bottom of the league sucks right now. Winning a couple games like really could damage your draft stock. You know, last year you win 6, and I think that's the Giants, and they're picking like 5th. I don't think 6 wins gives you the 5th pick this year. It might give you like Sheldon Rankins. Like that might be where you're drafting. So yeah, by the middle of the week, you're back looking at it. But damn it, on Sunday, like I want to see what they can do. And that was a lot more fun than what it has been
you definitely
for a while.
wanted to beat the Falcons. Like the Falcons, no matter what, you absolutely wanted to win. Whatever happened, you wanted to beat the Falcons. It's the rest of the games where I think it becomes a little more questionable.
They can beat the Browns. I think they can beat the Browns.
Yeah. No, they absolutely can. All right. So, Nick, we were kind of having a conversation about like maybe future players. And we were talking about like if you had to buy like a jersey for a future player for the Saints, like where would you go? I'll throw it to you maybe a different way, but kind of in the same conversation. If you could choose 3 players from this Saints team for the next 3 years, 3 players for 3 years, who would you take with you?
This is really challenging because like it feels like the gimme is Chris Olave, but then his health situation and all that.
That's what we're talking about.
So man, and then also you got to probably pay him $30 million or something, and I don't know if I want to do that either yet. I need to see a little bit more before I make that decision. I mean, you know, I think he's a great piece on a team. Like if I'm, I think situation would dictate that too. Like if I'm Houston and I have to, you know, and I feel like one more, and Houston doesn't need another receiver, but like if you're a team in that situation, and you feel like you're getting over the hump, like I would probably pay Chris $30 million to do that. If I'm the Saints and I have nothing and I'm trying to build something, I don't know if that's the best allocation of resources because I'm not ready to win right now. Personally, with like how that position has gone, I'm a draft a receiver early, like every 2 years guy now. Like that's kind of part of my like my draft manifesto or whatever at this point. But 3 players, like so, I think I would probably go Pete Werner.
Okay. I mean, surely I said Fuanga just because he's, you know, recent first round pick.
That's a good pick. It's a good pick. I would go probably Alante. I'd probably take Alante Taylor with me.
Taylor said,
So Taylor.
I mean, it's a weird spot to be in because you have talented players, but there's like asterisks by a couple of those talented players, and it's like the contract situation. And like, yeah, sure, Trevor Penning's playing better, but you're not picking up his 5th-year option. And so like,
No,
there's
absolutely not.
like, you know what I'm saying? So like, there's like the conversation's weird because there's talent, but it's like we all have to think. Like it took us a while to all kind of come up with 3 guys that we would move forward with this Saints franchise, and it kind of just shows you the state of where they're at right now.
And that's the highest. That's the highest graded player on the field, Trevor Penning. Thank you very much from Sunday.
Yeah,
Soccer.
I would definitely go Fuaga because like the positional value there is really high. Like I don't like the Werner pick, but I just feel like if you ask me like who are the best 3 young players on the team, he's one of them. But like I don't want to take a linebacker because I can draft a linebacker like very easily in probably replace that position. They don't have a ton of like the receiver thing is kind of the problem here because you want to keep both of them, but you don't want to keep like in this. I don't know. Like I don't want to pay Olave yet in the injury stuff, and I don't want to invest heavily in Shaheed either. I need a wide receiver 1. I don't know that they necessarily have that. It's tough. Like Eric McCoy could be a sneaky pick, but he's 27, and I don't want to put that value on a center either. So yeah, that's a tough exercise, man. Who are your guys' picks? Who are all the guys on your list?
We only did 1 jersey, and I said Fuanga. That would be the jersey. I also said that, like
Alante
AK.
Taylor was Taylor's pick.
Yeah,
he said Fuaga. Gosh, I don't know. I don't even know, like right now, who my choice would be. I mean, it's like, is Eric McCoy still young enough to be able? Because we've seen like what this Saints offensive line is without him, and how crucial he is to the success of the entire offensive line. And so, like,
yeah, but anybody who has value, I feel like I don't know.
It's just the whole conversation, Nick, started because, like, anybody with value, it does feel like there's still question marks, either because of age, because of contract, because of health. It was kind of really just an exercise to point out where you're at. Like, nobody said Brian Brzee, and you just took him in the first round, a couple of drafts ago. It's like, where do you kind of go? And like, what are the building blocks for this franchise if they do finally hit a soft reset or maybe a full reset and moving forward with whoever the new coach is?
Nick?
Yeah, not taking anything away from McCoy. I think he's a great player. I mean, obviously, but if that says more about the team than I think about, and again, he's great, but like you shouldn't be looking at the center in that spot.
What do we think about Nick? Did you see Zach Bond's comments the other day? Where he was kind of talking about,
not.
Okay, so well then never mind. He was just talking about going from New Orleans to Philadelphia and how he felt like uncomfortable here. Basically, he described it like when he left high school, like his old high school, he didn't feel like he was so uncomfortable. Could it be himself? Then he gets this new one. He can. He's empowered. He's doing great. We can have that conversation another day. You mentioned Rizzy maybe getting the job, and that's a hypothetical that we've played with that we're getting way out over our skis. But let's say the Saints win, like, because of the need to feel like it's time for a reset, is there any number of wins in which Darren Rizzy could actually become the Saints' next head coach?
What do they got? 7 games left? I would say if they won like 6 of those, I mean, it's probably a pretty serious conversation. Maybe 5, like starts the conversation. I don't think they're gonna get there though, and I'm willing to be super wrong on that. Like I think logically, like I didn't think they were gonna win this game by any possibility either, and they did. But I think 5-6 wins. Like you got to have a serious conversation, and then the wild card here. And look, I know they just made this like massive seismic change, but a big piece of this though is that these are people that have historically shown us that they like to operate within their little universe. And if he gives them a reason, I think that reason could become something that they lean into. Look, I think there's a weird thing here. So kind of my thought process on this is if you could have a situation, because I think they're going to be bad for a while. Like if you could have a situation man, and this sounds so disrespectful to Rizzy, but just academically speaking,
you want to make him the bridge
if you're looking
guy.
at it like the Raiders, okay, Antonio Pierce wins the job, kind of the locker room's all the way behind them. Their season goes in the tank. They're terrible. They probably obviously have to replace their head coach at the end of the year. But now you got a bad season eaten by a guy that the players were behind in a situation where success was probably not really going to be possible.
Yeah.
If you end up in a spot where the locker room is bought into the coach and you can maintain your culture for a year and nobody's pissed off because the team did something responding to you, and now you get to eat a bad year. Like, so if you got into a spot where like either Rizzy proves he's a great coach and he gets the job, he wins 5-6 games. Next season, they do great. They win 9-10 games. They make the playoffs. That's an amazing outcome. You found like a Dan Campbell. Like, that's the best possible outcome here. But also, if you're in that spot and he wins the job and you have a bad season and you can clean up your cap and you clear the $60 million in dead money, and then a year from now you're in a better position to kind of set it up, that's not the worst thing either. So, like, if you were to find a way to maintain this job, I don't necessarily look at it as a terrible thing, even if you. Because my expectation is that next year is going to be a lost season, whether you get Mike Vrabel or you have Darren Rizzy. Like, I don't think it matters. And by the way, I heard Vrabel don't want this job. So, like, I'm not tipping anything here.
Well, I mean,
but,
to your point with this idea of like a potential, like basically patsy or fall guy, the idea would be in the future, it makes it a more attractive job for whoever the best candidate is at the time.
Or he just does a great job and he's the coach. It's like, I don't think him keeping the job would be a terrible thing if he earns it, because I think next year is going to be terrible. Like, I really do. Like, if you can clean it up and you get to a year from now and you can go out and you have, $70 million in cap space to spend, that makes the job a little bit better than negative $70 million. No hope, like I just don't think this is going to be a great job next year.
So typically when you go and you fire your coach, you go away from what you just did. And for Dennis Allen, he had nothing for you to fall back on when times were tough. And so let's say they do try to go get their coach for the next 6 years. Like, what do you think it's going to, like, what do they envision bringing in, I guess? Like, don't you want to go the opposite of what you just had and bring somebody in where you can at least say, hey, I know it's not going great right now, but we can look back at his resume. He was the head coach. He won here. He won there. He made the playoffs a couple of times, because like you never had that. And that was something that I think was a problem for the Saints, because how bad Dennis Allen was with the Raiders, like you never felt like, hey, he's been in this situation before. He fixed it. It was just all bad.
If I'm the GM, like, my ideal hire here, it's not keeping anyone. It's like I want anything that's ever touched the Sean Payton plate, like,
Agreed.
gone.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want anybody that's even been to that buffet. I don't want anyone.
Yep.
Like, I want something completely different. So, like, I would start there. And that, Aaron Glenn might be a great coach. I don't have a strong opinion on who they hire, because I was super wrong on the last one. I thought this was going to work. If they bring in Aaron Glenn, like, I wouldn't be against it at all. But like, I don't even like that. Like, I just would. If you're asking me, like, I just want a fresh start. I want everything gone. I'm starting from zero. I'm not trying to hold on to anything. I'm not trying to preserve the way things are done. Like, I might not even want someone that's part of like the Parcells like tree. Just like get me completely away from it if I have a preference. Been there, done that, time to move on. Yeah, I think kind of like a little bit of a disciplinarian wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for this team. Like,
I agree.
The biggest issue I think was accountability. There wasn't a ton of it. So I would want somebody that just kind of is just, we're doing things this way, totally bought in. Somebody that's, just a little bit better with messaging and leadership. Just those are the qualities that I would hold paramount to the top. And then, play calling and all that would be secondary to kind of some of those things for me, because that would be the opposite of it all. Preferably offensive minded, but like, if you get me the right guy with the right leadership qualities, like I'm okay with kind of like whatever direction they go next year.
Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the two guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.